Castle stands on a rocky promontory that rises gently on its eastern and southern approaches but falls steeply away to the north and the west. Mugdock Loch, that was much greater in size than it is today, provided protection to the north and the west. A ridge of volcanic rock running from east to west just south of the castle kept the water level high. This provided the castle with natural defences on three sides. Sir David Graham of Dundaff was granted the state of Mugdock just before he died in 1244. His descendants, the Earls, created in 1505, Marquises were created in 1644, and Dukes created in 1707 of Montrose retained the castle until 1945. Sir Hugh Fraser donated the castle and its lands in 1981 to the Central Regional Council. Restoration and stone consolidation completed in 2005 has made it possible for visitors to gain and access and enjoy the ruins of one of Scotland's most important ancient monuments. No one is completely sure how old the castle is, but it was first mentioned in an old vellum document dated 24th of August 1372. This was an agreement between Sir Patrick de Graham and Angus Hewen-Royce about the ownership of land around Beauclair and was signed at Mugdock Castle. The most famous Graham to live at Mugdock was James, 5th Earl and 1st Marquis of Montrose from 1612 to 1650. Known as the Great Marquis, he was a fine soldier and led the Covenanters against Charles I. However, he gradually became disillusioned with the leaders of the Covenant and took up the cause of the king, fighting against his old arch rival, the Marquis of Argyll, in 1650. Montrose was defeated, taken prisoner and hung, drawn and quartered at Edinburgh Cross. The original castle walls were greater in height than can be seen today. This curtain wall linked all four original castle towers. Although modified through the ages, the grooves from the original portcullis can still be seen today. The castle has experienced many structural changes to accommodate the changing usage of its many residents. This entrance was built during the 15th century and was a gateway to the outer courtyard. The gun slits, there are two gun slits visible today. They clearly demonstrate the fortification needs of this site after the evolutionary development of armaments and gunpowder. The oldest remaining castle structure, and what is believed to be one of the four original towers connected by a curtain wall around 1372, is the southwest tower.
As you can see here in this area of the castle, there are benches for use of the public to snack and have little picnics and things in its centre. You can have a seat and just enjoy the peace and quiet. You'll probably get the odd castle visitor coming through, but nothing too disturbing. Plenty of incentive to enjoy some food. Right, now here's a bit more interesting information about the castle itself. So this is the courtyard, and it says here, the castle's courtyard boasts the greatest example of the site's history, the southwest tower, which is right there. The tower is the oldest remaining structure and dates back to the late 14th century. Standing 59 feet tall, is believed to be one of the four towers linked by a curtain wall as part of the castle's original construction in 1372. The courtyard also provides easy access to other building remains, including the North Tower Keep and the former three-storey Victorian mansion built in 1874 within the tower. The tower has four internal compartments and an attic. The lower dungeon compartment housed many a felon over the years, none more famous than that of Patrick McNichol, the last person to be hung at Mugdock in 1718. The first floor compartment may have been used as a counting house for the collection of land rents by the factor. It was almost certainly also the reception room for guests and visitors. The third level is likely to have been for domestic use by the head of the household and his wife. The upper compartment provides access to the castle's defences, but today has been furnished to celebrate the noble Grahams, so within there is actually furniture. You can't get in though. The former entrance, the entrance to the Barnail, 3-storey Victorian mansion house built in 1874, was last inhabited in 1948. As you can see here, there is more information about the archway link and the North Keep. So the archway link was built to connect the Victorian mansion house to the original southwest tower, which again is right there, which would be that link there. And the North Keep, formerly one of the castle's 4 original towers, was built around 1372. Now I believe the North Keep is actually just over there, but I'm unsure whether it is there or just there. So what you're looking at right now is an area of the castle called the Domestic Range. Now it was originally 2 stories and it provided accommodation and storage for the residents of the castle. If you look on the wall there, you can still see a vertical arrow slit and another just along there, which is obviously where archers would have... In fact, you can even see arrow slits in there pointing out to the rest of the trail, and that is how archers essentially would have stayed hidden from enemy fire and also protected the castle. Now, as we are now entering the Domestic Range, you can see in here it's a very, very large building, and although it was originally 2 stories, even just this single story would have provided plenty of space for supplies, ammunition, and obviously since there's arrow slits, you can imagine archers would have been stationed in here as well. Hello! I'm actually not sure what that is. Well, that may have been a fireplace. That might have been the 2nd story fireplace, because there's where the top of the roof would have been, just there you can see. So that would mean that the floor and the roof collapsed, and ever since we have just had the shell of the building without the roof essentially. Right, as you can see here, there is either a Elizabethan era or medieval era oven. It was most likely installed either during the 17th, 18th, or maybe slightly before centuries, and surprisingly, although it's rusty, falling apart, and not in the best of condition because it's been exposed to the elements for all these years, there are still many features of the oven such as dials, compartments, etc, etc. Most likely the oven would have been a gas oven rather than a coal oven, because although coal ovens were the most common kind of oven during this era, gas ovens were a luxury, and as this is a castle, it most likely would have had the most up-to-date technology around at the time. Unfortunately, that is all we know about this oven. However, we may be able to research that, or you may be able to research that yourselves later in time.
And what you're actually seeing here is the walled garden.
This is the part I was talking about earlier when we were just coming up the path. Slightly further down the stairs, just between those 2 trees, there is a very, very interesting feature which I will explain once we get down there. Right, here is some information about the actual walled garden itself and the piece of architecture I was talking about, which I'll explain in a moment. So, the walled garden was built in 1820 and constructed on 2 levels that spanned the original castle site and the Mugdock Loch. The upper garden level was used to grow garden produce for the castle's residents at the time. The lower level was used for recreational interests of the family. These interests extended to the loch where a timber jetty provided access for boating and fishing. The walled garden became derelict during the second half of the 20th century along with the rest of the site. In 2001, a team of craftsmen and volunteers painstakingly rebuilt every wall over a 3-year period and returned the site to its former condition. Now, the bit I was talking about earlier is just down there, and it is actually part of the stairs, which is a very clever technique to use, well, less space when they're building these houses. So, it is a Georgian era summer house, and it was originally built for the last Graham residents that lived here, and the 3 unmarried sisters in the 1820s, restored in 2002. So the people that lived in that little summer house rather than in the castle were the 3 sisters of the Graham family that were all unmarried. The Victorian mansion, which we talked about earlier, was built by antiquarian John Guthrie Smith in 1874. This building was a fine example of a Scots baronial mansion house. The building was last occupied in 1948, again by the Graham family. So, once we get down here, I will show you the Georgian summer house. So, as you see here, this is the Georgian summer house. Now, obviously, there is no furniture, no windows, no glass doors, no anything left of it really. However, once you go inside, you might realise that this house is much smaller than you would have expected. Now, if you can imagine living in here with your two other unmarried sisters, rather than going to the castle and experiencing all of the luxuries, as you can see it's currently dripping. The stones are a bit spaced apart, but the building is still stable. Now, this small space would not have been, I imagine, very pleasant to live in, but they may have gotten by. There would have been room for their beds, their cooking, entertainment, etc., but wouldn't live in here myself, I think. Georgian summer houses, if I remember, were essentially, well, I wouldn't say a way of getting rid of someone, but it was just a way of, think of it like a flat, right? If you had large property and you didn't have much space for other members of your family, you'd probably build a Georgian summer house for them and bung them in, leave them to themselves. It's not that they weren't allowed to go to the castle, they just lived in the summer house.
Yeah, it would have been nice in the summer. It would be quite anything other than pleasant. I think other than pleasant in there in the summer.
Oh, of course. Anything you want to add? Now, these two particular trees, I don't actually know much about them, but I would imagine they've been here for a while, since they are actually in the original blueprints of this garden when it was first built. These two trees are essentially like a gateway to the lower section of the garden, which is now overgrown and shrubby, as it has not been maintained in a considerable while. I believe that after they rebuilt the walls, they kind of just left whatever was planted in the garden to regrow. If you look, there are some flowers, but it's nothing like it would have been. It's not organised anymore, but in a way, it's still beautiful, just because of the fact that nature's retaken it again.
Unfortunately, nature took away all the nice things and nobody grew other plants and stuff, so in essence it's daylight shrubbery.
Yeah.
I'll cut that bit out.
Nah, that's a good joke, someone will get it.
As you can see here, we are now approaching one of our favourite areas of the walk en route to the car park near the tail end of the entire circuit. This is a little pond that we have nicknamed Bird Pond, as we are not sure if it has an official name. We have called it the Bird Pond usually because when you arrive there are species of birds such as ducks, magpies, and surprisingly, during the summer, even the occasional seagull. Sometimes, if you take a moment to stand and watch the ducks or other birds living their lives, such as socialising, communicating, and feeding and bathing, it can be very relaxing and entertaining. By this point, we have finally reached the final destination of our wonderful walk around the wonderful Mugdock Country Park. This, as you can see on your screen, is the Mugdock Country Park Visitor Centre, formerly known as the Craig End Stables. Beside the Craig End Stables, also known as the Visitor Centre, are two play parks for your children to enjoy while you are enjoying the experience of the country park. Inside of the Visitor Centre, there is a cafe, an ice cream shop, bike repair and rental, and there are sometimes staff that will wander and you can have conversations with. There are also toilets in case you need to do your business.
Now here in front of us, right on Mugdock Park, we have a newly built observatory.
We were a bit surprised when we first came in here. We were looking over to the overflow car park, which is what we're walking through now, and we thought, I do not remember that building being there, so we came over and it turned out to be an observatory. We'll tell you exactly what it is in a moment. I don't know if you can see it, but it says the actual name of the observatory is the Eric Tomney Memorial Observatory, which was obviously built in memory of Eric Tomney.
And it's under the Astronomical Society of Glasgow. And once again, it's in Mugdock Park, everybody. Mugdock Country Park. The contractor is PG Grimley Building Limited. The architect is College Architecture, and the engineer, Design Engineering Workshop. And the web address is
www.theasg.org.uk.
So it's theasg.org.uk.
And there's also a QR code there if you come and you can scan, and I'd imagine it takes you to the website as well if you've got a QR code reader.
And you can see up top there we've got the observatory dome, which I have no doubt they will open up when
At
you
night.
arrange to have a meeting.
Usually contains the
a look.
telescope.
And we go to the security section at the door. It says this building is protected by a remotely connected security system. Please smile for the cameras. This is on your way in. It says if you would like to see inside and look up at the wonders of the night sky, please join us at the Astronomical Society of Glasgow. Again, theasg.org.uk. So it's theasg.org.uk. How much is it?
£20 per year for adults, so that means that you pay £20 up front to join, I'd imagine, and then a year from that day you'd pay another £20, and under 16 years old are completely free. So that means that if you have a child and you sign up to join the society, you can then register your child, but that will be completely free, and it will only cost you £20 for yourself to come at, I'd imagine, any time of the year. And as you can see there, it says you need to contact the key holders before entering so that the motion sensor event log can be updated, which I would imagine is an anti-vandalism system to make sure that if someone's been in and then they inspect it later and something's damaged, they'll know who most likely did it.
The reason we've decided to come to this is because we have
What do we have?
this young man here who's a very, very keen astronomer,
Well, yes.
and he's learning about astronomy, so we'll be paying a visit here.
Thank you everyone very much for watching the video. We do hope you enjoyed it, despite the quality. Now, I would like to mention that at the time of filming we were unaware of how the final product would turn out. However, we did try our best in editing to make it as watchable and enjoyable as possible for all of you. So we certainly hope that our efforts were enough, at least. If you did enjoy the video, then please like, subscribe to the Walk and Wonders YouTube channel, and share with your friends and family. Now, that said, this has been part 3, and this is the Yak signing off the Walk and Wanderers. We'll see you next time.